There's this topic that I want to bring up when it comes to sociosexual dynamics, right? And this goes in line with the validational aspect of sexual attraction. Another thing to understand is that women have certain buffers, right? Like if you were to look at just the averages, and they're not going to be completely honest, but if you look at the averages of the different sexual orientations and the groups who have the most sex or who have the most partners, gay men are going to be at the tippy top of that list, right? I think I seen a study one time that said that straight men on average have about 9 partners in their lifetime, and straight women on average have about 4 partners in their lifetime. And I don't think that's accurate, or at least it's a little bit outdated for this day and age. But one thing I saw within that list was that gay men on average have about 50 partners in their lifetime. Now, why is this? Because if we're looking at biology and we're looking at nature, there are certain buffers that women have to prevent themselves from having sex with every single person they see who is attractive to them. Also, women are a little bit more picky when it comes to looks than men, right? That's why on Brody's scale of sexual attraction, when it comes to Brody's scale of sexual attraction, sex being an equivalent exchange is something that starts as an 8, right? Whereas, a woman may typically not have sex with you unless you've tried to court or pursue her or seduce her in some way if you're, below an 8. But at the same time, that's in her eyes on a sexual basis. I'm not talking about purely physical looks. But for a man, if that nigga drunk, he probably gonna fuck a 5. If a man, if he down bad, he might do worse than that. But typically, let's say you a man who have options. If a woman is a 6 and she throwing at you, you gonna take it, right? She don't have to take you out to eat. She don't have to do none of that extra shit, because sex is something that validates the male ego, right? And men, we're kind of more so built for the desire to spread our seed, just biologically, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that to try to justify why, there is this, what people deem as double standards when it comes to sexuality. I'm not doing that to say that. But I also got a video talking about how it's not truly a double standard. See, the double standard is this, right? The double standard isn't really related to trying to control women's sexuality. Because in this day and age, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to be celebrated for having sex with women, right? But whether you're a man or a woman, when it comes to wanting to deal with a woman or deal with a man, the idea of you dealing with men, especially multiple men, is something that will be somewhat of a visceral disgust or an intimidation that will come along with it when it comes to either men or women. Like there's lesbian women who don't like bisexual women. There's bisexual women who do not like bisexual men, but they'll be friends with gay men, right? See, the difference is this, V equals V, vagina equals value, right? Whether a woman's very attractive or she's slightly attractive or she's slightly below attractive, having sex with a woman is something that shows that, depending on your level of game, you feel like you accomplished something, right? It's inherent value, right? If somebody knows that you had sex with a particular woman, that's something that will go well for you as far as your social reputation. But for a woman, knowing that you've had sex with certain men is something that will look bad on you, depending on who you're talking to. It may not look bad to me, but it's something that will look bad on you in general. So women have certain buffers that keep them from having sex with every man who approaches them, with every man who's sexually attracted to them. And what this does is it makes it so that, you have to have game to deal with women, to have sex with multiple women, to have sex with beautiful, attractive women in your lifetime. You either have to be extremely attractive or you have to have some game, right? Now, this is one aspect of game that people don't talk about, right? Or maybe they do talk about it, but I talk about it, right? And I'm going to talk about it now. This concept is catching a woman's hand in the cookie jar. What does that mean? I often emphasize the biology first approach in approaching a woman on a sexual level first, but that does not always mean that to do it, you have to approach that woman as soon as you meet her. That doesn't always mean that you have to just see a woman online and say she's sexy and then just jump right in her DMs. Often a woman could have a capacity to be attracted to you, but based off of her level of attraction and the level of men who are giving her free validation and giving her non-sexual access to them on a consistent basis makes it so that you jumping in her DMs isn't really doing but so much unless you say something that excites her. And there's always the chance that if, you approach her a certain way and she's not already in the mood or doesn't already view you sexually, that she's going to take it as disrespectful, right? Or she's going to take it as just another thirsty nigga in her inbox who's trying to get validation, right? So what catching a woman's hand in the cookie jar basically means is this. You put a woman in a situation to where she will begin to view you sexually, right? And then after she views you sexually, or you give her some type of non-sexual access to yourself, right? Where she can see that, okay, you have conversational skills. You're not too thirsty about sex with her in particular, whatever it is, right? And in this particular scenario, a woman will, when a woman starts trying to get validation from you, and then especially if she tries to get validation from you in an aspect or in a scenario to where the context is sexual, that's one of those moments to where when a woman is reaching, right, which means she's thinking about you, that means she has an emotional reaction, to the idea of you giving her approval or disapproval. Understand what I'm saying? She has an emotional reaction to the idea of you giving her approval or disapproval. When this particular thing happens and a woman reaches, right? It's just like you're playing basketball, right? It's like you're playing a game. And when she's reaching, right, like you're playing basketball, or let's say that a woman is throwing a punch at you, right? Anytime, like you're boxing, anytime you throw a punch at someone, you're open. Anytime you throw a punch, you're open, because in some type of way, just the fact that you're making any movement at all is something that makes you open to be countered if somebody properly knows what they're doing. So, sometimes you can look at this game from a perspective of being a counterpuncher. If you look at game from the perspective of being a counterpuncher, one thing to understand is this, that you may have a certain level of physical attractiveness. You may have a certain level of sex appeal. But you need to give yourself the best opportunity to use what you have to your strength, to use it to your advantage. So one way this can work is you get a woman to reach for validation. So when a woman is trying to strike at you, a woman will strike at you because she has sex with your mind. So shout out to Ron Wills. A woman has sex with a man's mind. A man has sex with a woman's body. Now, this works on two different levels from my point of view. On one level, it works like this. When a woman has access to a man's mind, when a woman has access to a man's mind, that's going to do more than having access to his body. Because a man may not value access to his body on a certain level because he's trying to put himself out there. So because he's trying to put himself out there to have sex, just having, sex with a man is not necessarily going to be at the top of his list of priorities, right? But one thing that can happen in this particular scenario is, let's say a woman is trying to reach for emotional validation, either to try to see what's on a man's mind, or she's trying to get him to give her some attention because she's been thinking about him. And really, this just goes in line with the emotional roller coaster. This goes in line with understanding sexual transmutation. If you understand sexual transmutation, then you understand that if you have a high enough level of sexual energy and masculinity, and you have a high enough level of psychology and understanding, then any emotion that a woman experiences can be turned into sexual energy as long as she doesn't shut down, right? So if she shuts down, it's a little bit too late for that. But if a woman has an emotional reaction, whether that is anger, whether that is laughter, like humor, whether that is, sadness, whether that woman is whatever that emotion is outside of visceral disgust and outside of neutrality, right? Which is when she shuts down. Any emotion outside of that is something to where if a woman reacts and you know how to quickly change the emotion that she's feeling, then that woman says, this man has power over my emotions. Now, if you know how to make that scenario sexual, which means that woman's hand has been caught in the cookie jar, the one thing that happens in this particular scenario is that you can make the situation sexual, right? Because in her mind, she's not thinking this out loud, but a woman can go from not really seeing you like that, not really thinking of you in that way, to now She's looking at you. She's looking at your pictures. She's watching your stories, and she's trying to find a way to get you to validate her. And when a woman is trying to get you to validate her, what you have to do is put yourself into a scenario to express your intentions in a way to where she knows that she has to do it sexually, or at least you're on her mind enough to where she's invested in the conversation. Right. So when I talk about the biology first approach, some guys may take this mindset and then just try to approach a woman very directly, sexually, just slide into her inbox, because I do online dating coaching. But one thing to understand about these particular type of scenarios is that oftentimes you'll do better by seeing if a woman posts anything sexual of nature, right? If she posts something sexual of nature, then you can post a comment in a way that doesn't seem like you're trying to get validation, but something that shows that you're already validated, right? Or something that changes the narrative of what's being said, or something that arouses a response out of her. And once it does, then that woman is going to want to respond to you. When she wants to respond to you, what you do is you escalate that conversation in the comments sexually. Once you escalate that conversation in the comments sexually, but not directly related to her, you have to be able to make a quick change, right? So when she's going to be expecting the conversation to go in a particular direction, you can quickly change directions. And then you can say, well, I can, something to the effect of being willing to leave the conversation, right? You could just leave it there for a while, not respond for a while. Another thing you can do is just do something that makes her laugh, right? So you can make her laugh with something sexual of nature, or something that indicates that sex isn't something that you get from a woman, but something you give to a woman, or something that indicates you can get things from women by being sexual with them. Now, by doing this, what happens is a woman starts to view you from the perspective of what you say. Or she's unsure about it, and because of that, she's going to challenge you, right? Now, when a woman challenges you, you have to be able to be in a situation or in the get the high ground to where you can tell her, basically, I'm not about to sit here and fake flirt with you. You too thick for that, right? You have to know how to give a woman a backhanded compliment, right? A backhanded compliment in a way that that respects her boundaries. And what I mean by this is strategic honesty. What is strategic honesty? See, strategic honesty is when you speak on two different levels. It's just like when you're rapping and you do a double entendre. You can speak on two different levels with a woman. And what I mean by speaking on two different levels with a woman is if a woman is having a conversation with you, right? And in this particular conversation, she starts trying to say things that indicate she's not interested, then you can take it even further than that with how you're not interested, right? Without saying that you're not interested, right? But what you do is you can respect a woman's boundaries. So let's say a woman is not really down with what you're saying or something like that. You can say, yeah, I ain't even really trying to mess with you like that, because I don't think you can handle that kind of pressure anyways. Now, if a woman's not that attracted to you, she's not that into you, she's not going to go for it, right? I'm not going to say this is 100% of the time thing, but by understanding this concept, you can deal with those women who would typically be seen as attention whores. Oftentimes, when I first got into game, I didn't get into game on the basis of being upfront with women, because most of the women who I was interested in or who I was sexually attracted to a lot of the times were women who I've known for years. Right. And in knowing them for years, I was in a situation to where if I came at them up front, out the blue, it would seem weird. Like, nigga, you must be horny. Like, why are you, you must be fighting demons tonight. Why are you doing all this? So it really depends on the scenario. If you give a woman some quality validation, some quality conversation, not because you want something out of it, but just to have a conversation, and then you approach her on a sexual level without being very consistent in that conversation, while being able to show that you can walk away without overly valuing her communication, then what you do is you put a woman in a position where she feels like, okay, cool, well, what I'm doing isn't enough to maintain his attention. And when a woman feels like just talking to you isn't enough to maintain your attention, that is going to trigger something in her mind to where she will start putting her hand in the cookie jar. Right. And when her hand is in the cookie jar, that is when that's when you act on it sexually. Right. Another aspect of putting a hand in the cookie jar is just understanding that when you say something in a public forum, when you say something publicly, like you post memes of a sexual nature. I'm going to make a video talking about meme game. But when you say something in a public scenario, right? When you say something like that, it's different than saying something directly to a woman. Because if you say something in a public platform, especially if other women are commenting, so don't necessarily shoo away women who aren't that attractive, because there's something called pre-selection. This is online game. I'm putting you on some online game when it comes to catching the hand in the cookie jar. When other women comment, that's pre-selection. So a woman will see you saying things sexual, right? Things that indicate that you have sexual value, which often means that women are willing to trade non-sexual value for your sexual value. So think about it like this. Let's say that you see a woman post online saying, if she's attractive, she bad, she's sexy, and she's talking about, if I take you out to dinner, you owe me some dick, right? See, that creates a change of the expectation. It subverts the expectation. And it's like, well, I already wanted to fuck you, but now you're talking about paying to take me out to eat, and now I owe you some dick. I love you now. Like, that's not necessarily love, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things that makes you see a woman as more valuable, as more interesting, as more intriguing, right? And now let's say you're into anime, and then she says that in regards to anime, right? Like, let's say, you can make a meme like this. You can post this, right? Or you can go to Brokage and go through the memes and find my memes, and you can just share my memes. I've gotten plenty of pussy off of memes alone. There's women, some of the most beautiful women I've ever had sex with were women to where I was just simply posting memes related to something they had an interest in. And when I was posting memes related to things that they had interest in, but it was sexual in nature and it displayed a certain level of sexual value, then what you don't understand sometimes about memes is this. With a single meme, a woman can change her perception of you to the point where she desires your validation and she desires you sexually, right? So, I have a meme that I've posted. I'm not going to get all the way in the meme game, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit because this relates to putting a hand in the cookie jar. So one thing you can do is just say something that sparks and creates a response. And this is something, don't get too caught up in women talking about things that are viewed as manipulative, right? Because the nature of human interaction is manipulation. The nature of human interaction is influence. And if you don't have a foundation and a platform with a woman to where you create any type of influence anyways, then, it is what it is. It is what it is. So it's kind of like negging, right? Let's say a woman, you try to talk to a woman and then she tries to give you a response that shows she's resistant to what you're saying. You can flip the narrative. Instead of trying to pursue her for her validation, just give her a backhanded compliment, right? There's different ways that catching the hand in the cookie jar works. I think I'm going to post this video onto this video to just give an example of what that means. You have to get a woman in a position where she's thinking about you, right? She thinks that you can deal with a woman on the level of how sexually attractive she is. And when she believes that, because she's seen it, or she's trying to get a little bit of your attention, but you're not biting but so hard. Let's say you're posting memes, right? Or you're making posts, or you're posting things in your story, and she's commenting or she's leaving reactions, and then you don't just go watch her stories, or you don't give her a bunch of validation, you don't give her a bunch of attention, then eventually she's going to keep revving up and escalating how much attention she's trying to give and what she's trying to do to get the attention. The thing to understand about this is this: don't feel bad about this, because when a woman desires your validation, she is going to stop at whatever point you give it to her. You get what I'm saying? So if it's a sexual post or a sexual meme, and as soon as a woman comments once, you're trying to go for 20 comments with her, you shot your shit. You've already shot your load. So now she's in a position and she's in a predicament to where, she doesn't have to do anything more to feel like she can get you if she wants to. But if from time to time you ignore her comments, but you're somewhat inconsistent with it, it's only if it's something that you feel is worthy of responding to. If she doesn't respond to your DMs, then just respond to everybody on the comments but her. You feel me? Don't give public attention if a woman isn't reciprocating privately when you're trying to escalate sexually. Just don't do it. Now, if you give a woman some quality validation and then she doesn't bite, right? And then you kind of end the conversation or whatever it is, and you just leave off of there, and then eventually see her trying to vie for male attention, right? So if you've already given a woman quality validation, a good conversation, and then after you've done that, now she is in a position to where she's posting something on her stories or she's posting something on her page to show that she wants male attention, then that's where you can say something funny, something that subverts expectations but still displays sexual interest, right? In a subtly validational way. So, you could say, you all double caked up on a Sunday for no reason. You can say you thicker than a bowl of cold grits. If she posts something and you see some stretch marks, be like, oh, you can post a picture of some damn, a close up of some cinnamon toast crunch. Like you got the cinnamon sugar swirls in every bite. You know what I mean? You could say, I see the yams touching the macaroni. There's a variety of things you can say that to a woman, it's funny. It's something that she'll think about. One thing I've said to a woman one time is she kept trying to get my attention, kept trying to get my validation. So she would send me like pictures of herself. And I said, listen, I ain't about to play with you. You too thick for me to be fake flirting with you. And she's like, what you mean? I said, listen, you're going to fuck around and your thighs are going to be my earmuffs. See, these kind of things, it's like they trigger that sexual desire for a woman. They trigger that interest. They trigger that curiosity. What you want is for a woman to feel curious about you sexually. Like, damn, maybe he does know what to do with it. Damn, maybe he will, like, really eat this pussy good and really fuck me good. You know what I mean? You want a woman to be in that position. Another thing is to be able to give a woman validation for something that she feels insecure about. There's something else that, put a woman's hand in a cookie jar. So let's say it's, this is part of the reason I like thick women, because I genuinely prefer thicker women. But at the same time, when it comes to thick women, oftentimes they may get validation for it, but at the same time, they're getting validation for that from a lot of times guys who they're not that interested in. But another thing to think about is this. She's still going to have times where she feels insecure about the fact that she's thick like that she is, technically overweight by the body mass index. And I do think that for black women, the body mass index isn't necessarily accurate because we're built a little bit thicker than white people. And the body mass index is built on white people. So some people are in shape that aren't seen to be in shape by the body mass index. So let's say, you can touch on different things. It's one reason why I spent time to develop my foot fetish, because a lot of times women don't get validation for their feet like that. Women get validation for their ass. Sometimes women get validation for their titties, but women don't often get validation for their feet. If you can validate a woman based off of something she doesn't typically get validation for, and then if she, tries to shit test you, or she tries to, act like you're being a little bit weird, but you stand completely confident and firm, and then you know how to spin that in a way that adds an element of curiosity and a new aspect of sexuality that still gives her pleasure, then something that happens in that moment is a woman will become very curious. Like, man, what is this guy trying to do to me? And that's the feeling that you want a woman to have when she's thinking about you. Like, what does he want to do to me? Right? That's what makes a woman curious. That's what makes a woman want to fuck you. Wanting to do the same thing everybody else has done, it's not really exciting to a woman. It's not really, it's some of the same old, right? But when it comes to catching a woman's hand in the cookie jar, there's different ways this can work. You can use that with your exes. You can use that with the new girl. You can use that, especially you need to use that with a woman who you've given a certain level of validation to before, or you've talked to her, or you've been friends with her, and you're starting to develop your game, and you feel like, now I want to be upfront about my sexual intentions, but it's too late because you didn't have that game when you first met her. There have been women who I used to have crushes on. Before I got game, I used to have crushes on those women, right? But how did I do it? Let's say I started off having a conversation, about something they may have posted on their page, showed that I could be intellectual, but didn't drag on the conversation, right? I may have been in depth, but I didn't drag it on. And after I didn't drag it on, something that would happen is that, when I didn't drag it on, is that if the woman later on was trying to get male attention, I would give it in a funny way. And then if she didn't reciprocate that, I would respect those boundaries, right? It's just like what I was saying when it comes to strategic honesty. See, strategic honesty is understanding that just because a woman is trying to stop dealing with you or doesn't want to deal with you doesn't mean that she wants you to be okay with not dealing with her. So if a woman is trying to turn you down sexually, you can turn her down even harder sexually. If she tries to reject you sexually, friend zone her, right? If she tries to friend zone you, sister zone her. I've had women before that hit me up because they wanted a relationship. And I was like, listen, I'm attracted to you, but I don't know if I like you on that level. So then they would, try to friend zone me. Later on, I'd take the same woman and I say, you know what? This one woman, we went to Chick-fil-A one time because we was filming a show. We was doing a mini series. And when we went there, she tried to give me some of her fries. I said, you so sweet. You remind me of my little brother. And that shit just broke her heart on the spot, even though she tried to friend zone me. And I said, listen, and she was like, that's like the most friend zone thing you could say to a woman. This same woman, one day she got drunk. We had a party at the spot. And she got drunk and she started telling me about how I just think that you're so handsome and I just think you're so talented and your girlfriend was stupid for breaking up with you. She didn't break up with me, by the way. That's not how that went. But okay. But what you got to understand is that when a woman is in a position to where she feels like she can't get your validation for free, then a woman will do what she got to do to get it. Remember, an attention whore will whore for your attention. Now, I'm not saying you should deal with attention whores. I think that you should develop your game to the point where you can create that hand in the cookie jar effect in a single conversation when you meet a woman up front, right? Your game should be on point. But for everybody, it's not going to be that way. Some people weren't naturally gifted with that level of social skills. So if you need to make this work online, it's something that works. Another thing is this, like, let's say you're on Tinder. When you upload or you change your pictures, there's this one woman I dealt with. She was like in her 30s or something like that. I initially inboxed her when we first matched. But when I initially inboxed her when we first matched, she didn't really go for it. You know what I mean? She did, but she just stopped responding. But one day I changed my bio to black, bald, bearded, and blessed. It's got some alliteration to it. It's kind of catchy. And she's like, are you really blessed? Right? She hit me up when she saw I changed my status. See, when you're speaking for yourself, you're speaking publicly and not speaking directly to the woman, and it's something that catches her attention, she will come to you and put her hand in the cookie jar. When you're saying it directly to her, then it seems like you're trying to get validation from her. See, there's a difference. And when she said, are you really blessed? And I said, listen, taste and see that he's good. Right? So I kept that narrative up, kept that motif going between what I was saying. Let me see if I can find another example. I think I can. Let me look. I'm going to find another example real quick, because I think this is something that's important for men to understand when it comes to using game online. Because oftentimes guys don't understand this stuff, and they think that you either have to be a simp in a woman's inbox, or you have to be the type of man who's just ignoring women, or they think that you have to be the type of man who's just being very direct and aggressive in a woman's inbox. And all of those things are things that can work sometimes. But the thing to understand is that it's your return on investment, the time and the cost. You'll do a lot better by planning things out or by being, by being calculated than you will by simply just inboxing every woman who looks attractive to you. Understand that. Just trying to talk to every single woman you think is attractive. They're used to guys who are just as attractive, if not more attractive than you, hitting their inboxes. So if you start off in the comments, you will do better than just sliding on their DMs. You get what I'm saying? You'll do better doing things that way. And, saying something directly in the comments is something that's bold. So here's an example. I saw a woman, she posted something on her story, a little video of her with some glasses. I think she went out on a date or something like that. And I said, that smile is sexy to me. I want you to leave the glasses on for me. I like the nerdy look. See, what I was doing in this particular instance when I said this was when I said, I want you to keep the glasses on for me. I like the nerdy look. Was one, I said she looked a little bit nerdy, right? Which is something that is a little bit of a shot, not a big shot. I said, I like it. You can say you like something that otherwise will be seen as an insult. But when you say you like it, it kind of creates this emotional response that kind of stands out, because the woman's mindset is she probably wants to look directly sexy. But I said, the smile is sexy to me. I want you to leave the glasses on for me. I like the nerdy look. But when I say I want you to leave the glasses on for me, she has to think about what that means to leave the glasses on for me. For what? I'm talking about getting my dick sucked. So she sent me a little video of her with her glasses on. And I said, then she said, LOL, thank you. I actually wear glasses for real. Even though that was a filter, I just wear my contacts because they're more convenient. And then I said, the big frames with the yellow on reminds me of an Easter speech. That's cute to me, right? So it's keeping it very friendly, keeping it very light, but having my setup together already, because I set this whole thing up in my head very quickly before I acted on it. So when she said, LOL, thank you, I said, I can see you choking up on the mic and me saying, take your time, baby. Right? So it's something that is very light, because what you can do is you can trigger a woman's desire for validation of her insecurities, or you can trigger her curiosity by speaking to her in a way where you're insinuating that she's not as nasty and sexual as she is, which is respecting a woman's boundaries, the strategic honesty, right? And then she said, I don't get laugh my ass off. I don't get choked up, my friend, right? So you see what she said. She said, I don't get choked up. Because you got to understand, when I say talking on two different levels, this is part of what game is being able to talk on more than one level at a time. So when I said I can see you choking up on the mic and me saying, take your time, baby, that's in relation to the previous message I said when I said the big frames with the yellow one reminds me of an Easter speech. That's cute to me, because she just sent me a video. But, I set it up with the Easter speech thing, because I can see you choking up on the mic and me saying, take your time, baby, is in reference to her sucking dick. But at the same time, when I say I can see you choking up on the mic and me saying, take your time, baby, that's still speaking at like it's in reference and maintaining the same motif of the original comments of seeing her in a way that is not purely sexual, but with very sexual undertones. So choking up on the mic is sucking dick, right? And insinuating that she has a gag reflex and that she can't really suck dick like that. And then she said, laugh my ass off. I don't get choked up, my friend. And I said, those lips and that look in your eye gave me soul snatcher vibes. I like that. But you like throat massages too? I'd have to see that one to believe it, right? Now, some people say don't send emojis. I send emojis, right? So I sent an emoji, just the question of the thinking emoji. And she said, I promise you wouldn't be disappointed. And sent me some kissing emojis. And I said, I snatch your souls while you snatch my soul. And using that rose to see if it's working before you give it away. Let's test that theory. Because we were in some comments, people were talking about roses, and, I was, spitting a little bit of game in the comments. And then she said, whoo. with the hot emoji, then sent me a video of her sucking some dick and deep throating it. And I'm like, all right, bet. And then she said, this video quality is trash and it's old, but I'll let you think on this, LOL. And I sent her a little something, and then she said, I love it. So you with the shits this morning, huh? LOL, you all right with me, King? And then, that's where the conversation went from there. But the thing to understand is that when you're running game online, you have to have the ability to know how to pretty much set your plan in motion, to not be overly aggressive, but to still know how to speak on multiple levels at the same time to get a woman thinking, right? This is an aspect of catching a woman's hand in the cookie jar. If you catch a woman's hand in the cookie jar, she will be much more receptive to you and your sexual advances if she sees you sexual, or she sees you sexually before you have an opportunity to be directly aggressively sexual with her, before you express your sexual intentions. So it's important that a woman sees you sexually, right, before you approach her sexually when it comes to online dating, when it comes to spitting game online. If she doesn't see you sexually before you approach her sexually, then it's going to be 100% based on how physically attractive she finds you and how horny she is on that day. So this is Brody. This is, getting the hand caught in the cookie jar. I'm out.